Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Paranormal Karen. Housekeeping out of the way, sign up for the Patreon, go to my website, sign up for my email list. That is very important because TikTok might go away or might be gone by the time this comes out, or I have a bunch of dates and I'm adding them as we go. So especially karenrontowski.com or psychicstandup.com, go there and sign up. So today I am talking to a psychic medium, Reiki master, integrated energetic something, all kinds of wonderful things. My friend Judy Dingler is here. Judy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
That
You sound wonderful.
I'm doing pretty good, you know. Well, you're out here on the East Coast. That sun, I was away. I was smartly away a lot of February and March, but the sun is out.
Yeah,
Unbelievable the difference.
absolutely. Yep, I totally agree.
I mean, I had a dream last night that I was in this apartment in Georgia, and why Georgia? I don't know. Everybody was like, here's this and here's this. I like, no, I'm on the wrong coast. I kept saying, I'm on the wrong coast. I know. But
Get me back the other way.
Yes, but the sun and everything like that, all good. So, Judy, it is so nice to meet you I know you. It's so nice to talk
Yes.
to you in these weird times. And tell me a little bit about how you started as a medium. Were you from a bunch of ancestors, everybody? You're the seventh of the seventh, or did you learn it on your own? How did it come about?
Actually, it just came about very naturally. As a child, I always questioned. I was born and raised Catholic. I questioned all the time. Every time I was sitting in church or taking a religious class, because I went to Catholic grade school, I just always questioned. And when I experienced, say, church, it was always, I would sit and just stare at the priest, or I would go and pray to these statues that were in the back of this church that I had gone to as a child. And I will tell you that I would kneel down and pray, and they would talk back to me. I didn't think it was anything unusual or crazy until I started later in life asking, and people didn't understand what I was talking about. So
So,
that was my introduction.
so when you say they spoke to you, you don't mean like the mouths of the statue moved. You mean you heard voices in your head that were like specific different voices?
It was like telepathy. I'm guessing. Again, remember, I was 7 to 10 years old, and I just had this unnatural draw to church. I don't mean unnatural, but what 7, 10-year-old wants to go into church? Normally, they want to go out and play, right?
Yeah.
And here I am, like, no, let me run in, let me put in my envelope. But then I wanted to always stay. And I would say it was, through telepathy. I would kneel down. I would pour my little heart and soul out to these saints, Saint Teresa, Saint Jude, the Infant of Prague. And I just felt very comforted. That's my best way to explain how I felt. Very comforted, very loved.
Wow.
And yeah, it was quite amazing. And then even as, when you do all the Easter things, and it was, we would do Stations of the Cross. Oh my goodness. That was like, I would just sit, and it was almost like I was immersed in Station 1 and Station 2 and all the way down. And it's just, that's where I believe my foundation has come from. It has come from, my religious upbringing, the Catholic upbringing.
Now, it also sounds, I mean, I don't know if you believe in this, but to me, that sounds very past life. When somebody comes into this life with like, just, that's my thing and that's it, I feel like there's a familiarity to it.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
because there's so much, religious programming and sort of a few bad things, couple bad things with the Catholic Church.
Just a little.
Yes. Did you feel like, especially when you were talking to these saints, were they were not giving you like Bible class lessons? They were probably giving you better life advice. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was never, I never felt as though when I was connecting with these energies that they were above me. They were very much comforting, patient, just talking to me. That's the best way I could describe it. Like a mother would talk to a child when the child needed to be comforted. I never felt like I was chastised or made to feel bad for whatever I was feeling or expressing to them. I was just comforted. They were like a friend, if I could say it that way. It was really amazing.
Was there so it wasn't, it was like talking to a friend. It wasn't like, and I don't know the Catholic Church, so please take this with a grain of salt.
No, you're
Like
fine.
like them going, "Don't do this, and good people do this, and bad people do." It wasn't, you know how
Nope.
churches are very
It was nothing
rulesy?
like that.
Okay.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I absolutely do. It was nothing like that. And that's what confused me because, it's when I would sit and I'd listen to these lessons coming from the altar, about this condemning and you're going to be in trouble and I didn't feel that way. I just didn't feel that way. I felt like I don't know. I just felt as though I was going to be okay and that no matter what, God, Jesus, especially the Blessed Mother, everybody had my back, no matter where I was. I'm very protected. I felt very protected and very guarded. Like that I was being taken care of at all times, and I still feel that way. It's nothing that's gone away. If anything, it's just gotten stronger and stronger.
And do you still go to the Catholic Church?
I hadn't in a long time, and just about I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, I said to my husband one day, "We gotta go to the church." And he was like, "What?" I said, "We're gonna go to St. Monica's," because, the churches, all lock and close their doors now, right? So you can't get in. But
Oh.
I was fortunate because, we were very much involved in the church. My mom and dad had started up the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, at the church, and I was always basically had free room to run the school and whatnot. So my husband says, "How are we gonna get in?" And I was like, "Well, the upper church is having a christening." So I said, "We'll go up inside the upper church." I said, "Then I'll show you how to get down to the lower church."
So
So
you
we
guys
basically
broke into
snuck
church?
our way through. We broke into church, and, we got downstairs into the chapel where these life-size statues are, and he was like, "I can't believe you're doing this." And all the lights were out, so I had to shine the flashlight onto the saints so he could see who I was talking about. And I did. I stood there and I talked to them just like I did when I was a little girl,
Oh, that's
and
wild.
it felt the same. In fact, I had just talked to a friend of mine, and I said, "You know what?" I said, "We're going back to church." I said, "I'm going to call the rectory." I just did this 2 days ago. I said, "I'm going to call the rectory, and we are going to. I need my students and people who know my journey. I need them to come and see these statues."
Oh, this is this is fantastic. So are you going to a church service, or are you all just going to see the statues?
I'm going to call the rectory and ask them if I can just come and see the statues.
You know what? They better say yes. I hate
Yeah, I
listen to
know.
me, but that's kind of isn't that what a church is for? It's so
Yeah.
funny because and this is a weird when you said the churches were locked, which is probably because of vandalism, but in
Mhm.
my mind I went, they're keeping the homeless out, which is a weird
Mm.
maybe they're not. I just
No,
projected that.
that's what I would think, because you figure, when we look at all these older churches especially, there's a lot of valuables there that to the naked eye you wouldn't see as valuable, right?
Yeah.
But like the bronze and the brass and all those things. And people donate, donations that are thrown into say the grotto or so I would imagine, and I know that that's an unfortunate thing to think about, but I would imagine that that would be true.
So, and now I'm going to throw you a huge curveball that
Mhm.
you may not even know about,
Mhm.
which is a perfectly acceptable answer. But
Okay.
all the Pope was sick. I think he had pneumonia,
Mhm.
and there were many, many, many accounts of him either saying there were demons trying to drag him to hell, or there
Mm.
were demons in the Vatican, or something like that. And they were actually verified. They weren't, they were verified by the Vatican,
Mm.
which I have about 10 things that could be. Are you like a fan of popes in general, or I like because the Vatican, it might not even be this pope, but I think the Vatican has a lot of dark, very
Hmm.
bad things in their tunnel or their back thing or whatever is there.
Yeah.
How do you feel about all that?
Well, I feel like, do I see the Pope as, that head, that great leader? Um, hmm, that's a great question, and probably all my Catholic friends would, or, people that I know. Um, yeah, I never really,
Thought
I
about it?
mean, I understand who he is. Pope John, who is long gone, he was the Pope. He was the people's Pope, right? As far as all these other successors, I'm going to say honestly, I never really, looking into this current Pope, I never really liked him. I didn't like what was in his eyes. And again, I'm hoping I don't catch a whole lot of flack for that, but,
Not
and
on
I
this
feel,
podcast, no.
and
No, but
I
everybody's
feel
here.
like,
Yeah.
I just feel like religion and spirituality are such separate things,
Yeah.
right? It's like the religion has that, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to do it, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't, right? In my opinion.
Mhm.
Whereas when we connect with spiritual beings, right, it's just a different level, it's a different vibration. Do I think there's darkness? Absolutely. There cannot be light without dark, or
Yeah.
there cannot be dark without light, right? So yeah, I believe that that's possible, because look at all the secrets.
Mhm. And by
Not
the way,
just
ignore all the motorcycles going by if you're hearing that.
oh,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Yeah, the secrets, yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's secrets, and there's so many years of things that we just don't know. I mean, just normal things too. It's like, whether it's paintings or covering up, if you want to go into the whole alien thing, covering up the paintings that can show us what really could be, that's locked up somewhere, supposedly in the Vatican, or the scrolls that we can't see because, we're not allowed to see. There's so many things, or even just what we do as mediums and psychics. We can't do it, but the Pope can, right? He can connect with God and Jesus, but we're not allowed to.
So that was
Uh,
the conversation I was having with my friend Judy Landry. Hi, Judy. Instead of you, Judy Dingler.
right?
I got to look at my text messages better because the Catholics have a patron saint of psychics and mediums named
Mm,
Agabus, who was a prophet in the Bible. So why
hmm.
would they have? I feel like somebody decided we have to control them. They have to come to us for the information. So don't tell them about this patron saint. Tell them they're all going to hell or whatever it
Hmm.
is. Now,
Absolutely.
there was a very strange story that I didn't quite comprehend about the Pope opening another level.
Yeah.
What was
There's
that?
something about he was opening up a portal somewhere in, I think it was like New Year's. There was some portal that was going to be opened. I have no idea.
Right?
Because, anymore, it's like, what do you believe, right? Memes and AI and this and that. I kind of blew it off, but I did hear that there was something that he was going to do on, I think it was New Year's Eve, where he was going to open up this portal to who knows what.
If that's the stuff we're hearing, can you imagine the stuff we're not hearing?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I say, when we look at these figureheads, right? Is he really the figurehead, right? Or
Mhm.
who's pushing the buttons? Right, who's behind the scenes and who's really doing, who's really telling people what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm,
this is so terrible generalization, but I think when men are not having sex, not that they all need to have sex, but there's
mhm,
something else weird there. I don't know. I guess maybe I haven't had that calling to
mhm.
be married to God. So it's just maybe a reality I can't understand. But even to
Mhm.
ask a person to do that or not to marry or whatever, that's
Yeah,
also like I think you are playing with people's sanity, kind of.
absolutely.
And I do think there is, I want to say tunnel, but that's not the right word. There's parts of the Vatican that are locked that are, like you said,
Mhm,
paintings, and they know about the aliens and
mhm.
stuff like that. I still feel like, and I know everyone, I've said this a million times, there is now a conscious effort to point celebrities to Christianity or the Catholic Church. For some reason, he had a whole bunch of comedians. I don't know if you read that.
No, I did not.
He had a whole bunch of comedians. Jim Gaffigan, who is still Catholic. Who were the other ones? I can't remember, but one of them was Tig, who is out and gay. And I don't know what, he had like 5 of them. And you could look it up, folks, if you want. But it was very, I get Jim Gaffigan, but Tig, you're gay. You're outwardly gay. And this is someone that says you know.
Right. You can't do that.
Right.
Basically.
So I don't know. But there's.
Well, I think it's, it's that pleading to the masses, right? You just can't cut off. If you want to impress people and you want to bring people into the fold, right? Because you've lost so much over the years because of all the controversy and all of the, lawsuits and whatnot. You want to bring people into the fold. That's how you do it, right? You bring it in slow, and it's all on. I hate to say it this way again, but it's all on their terms. It's what's okay with what they decide is okay. And frankly, that's not the way Jesus is or was, right?
Right.
He wasn't in a building. He went out to the people, where they say, oh, no, you have to come into a building. You have to do this. I do love the ritual of, the whole Catholic religion. I think it's amazing. But when you start to break it down into the people and what they're doing and who they're welcoming in and who they're not and what they're cutting off and what they're adding to, it's just all bullshit.
It is. All right, folks. You know what? Hang on a second. We're going to be right back. We're going to do a little ad. Be right back. Hey, everybody. After the Lori Bell episode, a bunch of you guys reached out and said, Karen, where are you getting mushrooms legally online? So I reached out to the company and I said, hey, would you guys like an ad on my podcast? And they said, hey, would you like to be an affiliate? And that was the day I learned what an affiliate was. So I am now an affiliate for mycholine.com. Folks, these are the real deal. This is not on Instagram or places where you see, hey, there's some lion's mane and you might feel better and you might not. These are real mushrooms. And they come in a liquid concentrate form with 4 great flavors. Blue raspberry is my favorite. If you are microdose curious, this is a fabulous way to give it a shot. They come with wonderful instructions. 1 to 4 squirts is microdosing or just relaxing. 5 to 8 is a little more of that party feeling. If you're out partying with people and they're all drinking, that's kind of where you want to be. And 8 and above does its thing. I am perfectly happy with 5 or 6. I haven't gone to 8, but I've read the reviews and people are very, very happy. So you want to go to mycholine.com, MyColean, and you're going to use coupon code Karen71367. All one word, all capital letters, Karen71367 for a 10% discount. Go get some mushrooms, enjoy, and send me an email and let me know how you like it. It is, I actually brought you on and started bringing you into conspiracies, which are not your thing. That's not why I brought you here. But
no, it's okay.
I do feel like this. There's another trend going on, which is celebrities being baptized in a river in their underwear with 2 men and showing it on Instagram, all that stuff. And I did read an article though about there is a big underground church that is not showing, doesn't have statues of Jesus and this and that, but showing who is the enemy, like big maps, like the media is our enemy, Trump is our God, like really over the top. And I think that is an underground thing. I'm just making this prediction, this
That's fine.
wild prediction. I think that is something underground that is going on. That is, if there is ever a fight against Trump, this is going to be the underground army that comes up. My landlady is convinced that God sent Donald Trump to save the babies, and she will not budge from that no matter what. And there is an underground that they are almost poised for battle.
Really?
And
It's like the army, yeah.
yes, but that no one's really talking about it, and maybe it'll never happen, but the way I saw these celebrities going one by one, and some of the darkest celebrities that are
Hmm.
out there, not somebody you would, Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg has a terrible past.
Hmm.
Mel Gibson has
Yep.
it's all
Right.
very strange. But
Yeah.
anyways,
For them to have that Halo app and all. Yeah, I mean, one of the things, again, light, dark. And it's funny when you first brought up the fact that they were all getting baptized and all this stuff. The first thing I actually wrote down on a piece of paper is they're trying to save themselves. All of a sudden they want to run in and repent, or you know what I mean? Like, and hey, great, do that. But how you going to do after you're done getting out of that water? That's my whole thing. Right?
yeah.
Are you going to continue on your, that journey of enlightenment? Or are you just kind of doing this for the time being? You're saved, everything's cool. You're back up in your, place where nobody can touch you, and you're going to do the same stuff different day. That's the way I see it. It's when people,
Mhm.
you got to walk the walk. You can get dipped and blessed, and I don't care. They can pour a vat of olive oil on you, but what are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do when it comes time to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my thinking. And look, anybody can be reformed, I'll call it, or be better than, or find themselves. I totally get it. But I definitely, for me, your walk is your walk. And if you're going to talk, you better walk, right? So
Mhm.
that's huge for me.
That's a great way to put it, and also because I think some of them have just switched addictions. I think this is
Mm,
their new addiction,
absolutely.
but
Hmm.
also I noticed with a lot of them, they might be good with God, but they're better with their lawyer. Their lawyer,
Mm,
keeping them
yeah.
out of jail
Mm,
for, whatever reason. Do you believe I know a lot of mediums, and they just think, it's all good, and they don't believe in evil or bad spirits. So where do you stand on that?
I definitely believe that there is evil, and I believe that there are bad spirits,
Yeah.
energies out there. Again, dark's gotta have light, light's gotta have dark. I mean, you cannot have one without the other, but, do people tend to, I don't even call it worship,
Or
fortunately, I don't run into people that worship,
mhm.
but, I've experienced very dark energies, coming into my space. I had an instance one time where I don't know how deep you want to go in this rabbit hole, but I run development classes. Meditation,
Mhm.
psychic development, and mediumship development. And years ago, probably about 15 years ago, I had a woman come into the group, and we're all sitting there and we're doing the meditation, and and something's just my spidey senses were real up. Like I'm just sitting there going, all right, what is happening? And woman sitting next to me, music's playing, and she kind of looks at me funny. And I said, something wrong? And all of a sudden, it dawns on me that the same person who physically sat down next to me is not the same person that's looking at me.
Oh.
And I looked at her and I was like, oh, this is interesting. She started to have like a combating or combative attitude towards me. And I heard that this was a very dark energy and that I needed to do something with it and I needed to get it out of my space immediately. So her and I started going back and forth, and I basically told her out loud that, or told it out loud that we are not doing this in my space. You need to leave. And as I'm talking to this thing, my radio starts going off and on.
Ah.
And then spirits like, I heard from my guides, shut the radio off because that's where it was collecting its power from.
Mm.
So, I did what I had to do. I basically confronted this thing, this energy, and cleared out the space, cleared her out, and she left. And the next day, I got the nastiest text messages from that energy
Oh,
using
wow.
her to text me. It was wild. It sounds like, that's impossible, that can't happen. No, I've experienced it. I
Well,
have absolutely experienced it.
I think that people being taken over, or we would call
Mhm.
that a walk-in where
Yep.
something else walks in. I
Mhm.
think that is more common than we know, and I don't
Oh,
remember
absolutely.
if you and I had this conversation, but right now, as we are in this very bizarre time frame,
Mhm.
I think that's happening a lot more, as in road rage, as in people drinking in
Mhm.
clubs. I think that something it got easier for those things to jump on. And
Mhm.
sometimes, like you said, you can see it in someone's eyes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Ugh, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just a darkness. But I think it's also, we're all so distracted. The phones or the internet or whatever, we're just so distracted.
Yeah.
That why not? It's the perfect opportunity for something of a low vibration to hop in and stick around for a while, and if you don't recognize it, it's just, oh, you're the asshole today, or you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
there's people may have an opinion about you and they don't know why, and well, why is she behaving that way or why is he behaving that way? You don't know. But I firmly believe in it. I believe it can happen. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in people that have come into my space. That one was real interesting, but, I've seen dark energies come in and, you know, you have to know how to take care of it and how to get rid of them and make
Yeah.
sure they don't come back in again.
I have said this a lot, but people know of my story when I was really in a situation or a spot where I was in trouble. In someone called me to their house that had something in it. Of course, it's not until you get there that they tell you the story they should have told you before you
Yeah.
came there.
Right?
Me and my partner were like, "Oh, this is not good," and
Mm.
I just heard in my head my tarot teacher say, demons want your mind. They want your mind.
Mm.
So I kept looping in my head. My name is Karen Rontowski, and I know who I am. My name is Karen. And I tell people all the time,
Mm.
that's all you have is knowing who you are, whether you're sure of
Absolutely.
and I still use that even in situations with, human beings where things are going
Mhm.
south, and I think I was the only one that walked out of that unscathed, like, without anything following me home or anything like that, and I think right now that is a very important thing for people to know who they are, and then when I was reading The Exorcist Handbook, which
Uh-huh.
I only read it in small bits because I think if you put too much attention on that, you're literally calling.
Absolutely.
But she said when she goes into an exorcism, she loops nursery rhymes, and she said it's because they can't grab onto that if you're looping a thought,
Mhm.
and so
Well,
I
and 2, it's the innocence of it all, right? Wouldn't
yeah.
that be it? The innocence and the joy that comes from that? That's the last place they wanna be.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the last place they wanna be.
But yeah, so I think it'll be interesting this year to see what happens with I think keeping an eye on the Pope. I think that's the
Okay.
don't they always put out that same conspiracy though that this is the last Pope? And then
Oh, yeah.
there's another one.
They always do.
This
They
is the
always do,
last.
but you know what? It's the kind of thing where, I don't know, I'd be like, "Well, who's next? Is
Yeah.
there a candidate?" You know what I mean? Is there somebody that really can come up and, who knows? I actually thought he was dead already, honestly.
You're not the first person to say that. Who
Yep,
else? There was someone else where I felt like they said, "That person passed away," and I was like, "No, not yet." I think the
yep.
Mandela effects are crazy.
They are crazy. I said, because I was sitting there the other night and my husband goes, "Oh, something." I was like, "He died." He goes, "No, he did not. He's still alive." I'm like, "No, I saw that he died." He's like, "Jude, he is alive. He's declining, but he's alive." I'm like, "Okay."
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, and not just general, I obviously threw this right at you, but I feel like this year, especially the second half of the year, I think we're in brand new territory. Do you feel that?
I do. I do. There's been so much shaken up and it's like everybody, everything is on edge. And it's funny because I thought this morning, everything's crazy, everything's on edge, everybody's on edge. And now I just feel like we're kind of sitting at this, but I feel like we're kind of going to start to come down on the other side where things will get calmer. And I think that, cooler heads or cooler minds prevail is what I want to say.
Mm.
And that people start to take a deep breath, because everybody's always about knee-jerk reaction. Again, I hate to go back to technology, but it's all, instant gratification, instant seeing, instant doing. But when we sit in it and take a minute to really dissect what is happening in the world, I really do feel like we're going to get to the point where we are finally going to settle down, but that things will get better.
I hope so. Did you ever see there's a video going around? It's of a Hopi elder, and it's from way back. And he talks about, first of all, it's the prediction of cell phones and airplanes, and it's all done in their, like there'll be a web that people communicate through. And the last thing, and he's talking about how humanity has to make a decision. Is it going to go back to Mother Earth, or is it going to go to technology? And he says there'll be a man that is of the earth and the stars, which is Elon Musk. And then he says,
"Oh, it just gave me chills."
He said there's a very important man in a red hat.
What?
Yep. And he says, and then there's a lot of stuff in there. You can look this up, folks. It's Hopi Elder Predictions. And then I couldn't quite tell. I watched it a couple of times because he wasn't saying the red hat man is good or bad. He was saying this is the turning point. And I have to say, where he said we should go, I don't think we're going. I think we're going the wrong way. But it's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. But hate him or love him or hate him or however you want to say it, he's bringing up some dark shit.
Yeah, it's the pinnacle of change. It really is.
It is. Yep, it is some dark stuff that, I think that everybody. I was shocked. It's sometimes again. I'm going to go back to that. It's almost some of these things are too good to be true. We had all this craziness with, that Diddy coming out and doing all that stuff. And then all of a sudden we got into the presidency and all the other stuff fell off. But there's so much uncovering, where you sit and go, is this real? Is this like reality? Am I living in altered state or altered reality? It makes you question everything. And I think that that's where, everybody is getting to. What are we doing? How are we doing this? What we knew was the normal is not the normal anymore. And now we got to figure out what is normal. But what is normal isn't normal either. So there's this swirl. It's like somebody came in and kicked the bucket and everything went flying.
Yeah. And I hope it's coming together sooner than I think, because
I feel like it is going to come together sooner. But again, I say this all the time, like attracts like. If we want better things out in the universe and out in the world, we got to put it out there. So this constant arguing, hating, fighting with each other it's not going to solve anything. If anything, it's just going to create more division. And if we could just, and I'm not saying we got to agree with each other. I'm not saying that we got to like each other. We just have to remember, I think you said it, and it's funny because I wrote it down. You have to know yourself, right? When everything else is gone, Donald Trump's not in, the Pope's not in, Diddy ain't doing his shit. When everything is gone, all we have is us.
Yeah.
And that's it. So if you don't know who you are, if you don't know, your connection to whatever it is you want to believe in or pray to or whatever, you have to know who you are so that you don't get sucked into that void of, being a zombie, being a robot, being that, that configuration of AI, because we've lost who we are. And that's really where I think we need to get back to, is knowing us.
Yeah. I also kind of feel like, because I maybe there isn't a big difference with this, but there's the create your own reality crowd, which I get it, but I'm not on that bandwagon. I'm 100% on the law of attraction, because I think law of attraction really makes sense to me. There is a collective creating reality, and that's where I split from the everything is good. And some people will even go, well, I decided before I came here, which is fine, but that's a little bit of a
Yeah.
That's
I have a hard time with that myself.
I do too, because also, I mean, we can't go tell somebody in a war-torn country they're not creating their reality, right?
Right, exactly.
But also, that's almost like I do say past lives sometimes, but I try not to do that in my reading because it can be a little bit of nobody can check that. So,
Right. Right.
you know, so, but I do think there is a collective that creates our reality. And that's the one that makes me nervous at this moment. But then
Yeah.
again, we could wake up tomorrow. I swear to God, if we woke up tomorrow and everything had changed again, that would not surprise me.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh.
I was doing these Sunday night meditations to, pull in the collective and help the collective and raise vibration and energy. Of course, life has gotten in the way, so I haven't done them in like the past month. But at 9 o'clock Sunday nights, that's what I was doing. I was going on Facebook Live, which I never do, but I did this because there was such a calling for the collective energy to shift, for people to become aware of what they're doing. And it's in the smallest of ways. Again, no matter what side you're on, no matter what side of the fence, you have to remember you are part of the collective, and you can keep going in that direction of the hatred and the spewing and the fighting or we can just work together. And I know that does sound hokey, but it's all about energy and vibration, and it's about the collective. I'm not saying we're all walking in love and light, because like I said, there is dark, there's light, but if we could just be more aware and give ourselves more grace and focus on what we need rather than what we want.
I have a little different view, but I am hoping your view is correct. Because
Okay.
I feel unbelievably pessimistic, but we're gonna not go pessimistic because you just gave that beautiful thing. You just said that wonderful thing. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna take a break and come back and talk about all the things you do. Okay.
Beautiful.
Hi, everybody. Do you love everything paranormal, supernatural, or otherwise spiritual?
Well, of course you do. You're listening to Paranormal Karen.
If you like some humor sprinkled into your morning commute or wherever you listen to your podcast, we don't judge. We've got the most fantastic paranormal podcast for you.
I'm Dana.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Megan. We'd love for you to join us at Supernormal on YouTube or wherever else you get your podcast fix.
Trust us, it's weird, it's wild, and a whole lot of fun.
I'm not weird, you're weird.
All right, here we go. So Judy, you do all kinds of things, and now you have a Patreon, correct?
Yes, I have to load my videos onto Patreon, but yes, I do have a Patreon. It will be up and running soon.
Okay.
You can look at it, but there's not much on it.
But go ahead and sign up, and then I think this will come out in June. Maybe it'll all be back up. But first of all,
it will be.
So you do psychic and mediumship readings, correct? You do those.
Yes, psychic, mediumship, intuitive. I use a blend of whatever the person needs. It's funny, because people have to know, 30, 60 minutes. Am I doing mediumship? Is it tarot? I just tell them, look, have faith in me and we'll do what we need to do for your session. So they're always a blend of whatever it is that person needs. My thing is, you got me for an hour, you got me for 30 minutes, I'm going to give you everything I got. So I use my guides, my angels, my teachers, and I just ask them to come in and help out, and their family members. I work with the energies of their family members very closely. Generally, when somebody sits down, as soon as they sit down, I do my whole spiel thing and write their name down. Just when I go to write the date down, it's, their family members throwing numbers at me like birthdays and weddings and anniversaries. And I'm just like, okay. So, but I do the readings. I also do healing. I'm a Reiki practitioner. I've been for 25 years almost, or more or less, whatever.
Way before it was cool.
Way before it was cool, and had the repercussions of it not being cool. What's she doing? She's devil worshiping. She's doing things she shouldn't be doing. But it is super cool now, which is very nice. But yeah, I do the Reiki, and I work with crystals and oils, tuning forks. Again, whatever I have in my toolbox is what people get. I also do another modality called Path to Heal. Path to Heal is real cool because it is a modality where we take negative circumstances, psychological conditions, worrying thoughts, different things in your life. We write them all down, and then we go in and we target those specific things that are affecting you. And we go in and dissect where it came from in your life, when it started, who was the, or what was the contributing factor to it starting. And then we clear that energy. And we can do that in current life, and we can also go into past lives and clear it.
Nice.
And it's really cool. And what I tell people is, with Path to Heal, say we go back, I don't know, you were 3 years old, right? Situation, whatever. We clear that and it falls, what I say, dominoes. And it pushes right through that energy or that line of that timeline, and it corrects it into this timeline, into this life, which then allows someone to move very quickly into what it is that they need. A lot of success with that modality, and I do not promote it near like I should, but that's called the Path to Heal. And Rebecca Cohen is the founder of it, creator and founder.
Oh,
And she has a very interesting history. She was in finance, and she was a body talk practitioner, and she was doing this body talk and was being downloaded with all of this information. And here it is. It's called the Path to Heal. It's amazing modality.
and another thing which you always hope is that, or maybe I'm wrong on this, you have clients that come ready to heal.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That don't pull things back in.
Absolutely. Yeah. I talk about that actually, I posted that the other day on Facebook. I said, I don't heal you, right? We work together and you heal because you're ready for it. You're ready for that. You want to move on in your life. You're tired of the same old, same old. You want to you want to stop having the obstacles or stop attracting that same person into your life that, you go, well, why am I with the same guy or with the same girl again? Why am I experiencing the same thing? I thought this was going to be different because there's something that is stuck. And what we go in and we remove that stuck, and it puts it, it brings it right through into this lifetime. And I've had some of the stories with that are incredible. I had a woman who was homeless, no job, the whole 9 yards. She had a few sessions, and I'm not saying this happens with everyone, and I didn't hear from her again. And the woman who referred her to me called me one day and said, well, the reason why you haven't heard from so-and-so is because a week after you talked to her, she got a new job and she's doing this and she's doing this. I was like, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So lots and lots of success. But yeah, you absolutely have to be ready to heal. And some people are where they're ready and some people aren't. And what that does is that just requires a little more work. And I believe through, my team, who I work with, and through the person or the client's team, we work together for the highest and best for them, that they are able to receive exactly what they need.
Yeah, that's, it's kind of funny when people, like you said, I believe it for everyone, it can be that powerful, but I feel like I've watched a lot of, I have a particular friend that really struggles with the victim mentality. And if you're not doing your shadow work and you don't know you're stuck in that, then everything why can't anything change? And you can't say it, but yeah, we all have to be very, very aware.
Yeah. Well, shadow work is tough. Well, not tough, but the way I see that is, it's the kind of thing. Well, I have to do shadow work. Well, what's my shadow? What's my darkness, right? What do I have in me that I have to get out? Where they're not aware. Where like I've talked to people, and in myself included, I've had great healing experiences through this one modality I do. But it's like I go back to that 3-year-old self. The 3-year-old self experienced. I don't know. Someone always. No, don't do that. No, don't move. No, let me take care of that for you. Let me do. So what that's done for them, it leaves them as a 3-year-old to hypothetically not think that they can, they can't do a task, or they don't have the confidence to do the task because somebody else has jumped on it for them. So then they go through life going, well, I can't do that because I don't know how to, because they never had to fight. It's like being in the streets, right? I grew up in a city. It's a person that grew up in a city versus somebody who grew up in a suburb. Somebody's, doing it for you or not doing it for you. You got to fight through it. And sometimes they don't know how to fight because they never had to. Right. So, and then what we do is we recognize that pattern, right? We identify the age, we identify what happened and where it came from, whether it was mom, grandmom, grandpop, a teacher, you're not good enough telling you all the time. And then we shift that energy for you that brings you into that. You have an aha moment, I say. We never move anybody forward with the path to heal if they don't understand the concept or what we're talking about. If they don't have that that reaction to it, right? Or that energy, or they feel a vibration or something goes through their system. And then once they do, then we understand and we recognize through the tools that it's been moved and that we have now shifted that or corrected that DNA or that cellular imprint that they had. We've corrected it, and now they can move on and, hopefully do much better in life.
Yeah, that's what it's funny because I always think to do shadow work, you have to tell your ego to be ready for you not to be the hero you think you are.
Yep. Absolutely.
Some
Yeah,
of we've
100%.
those images we've built up of how great we are. Once those can come down and you can be human and you can say, I lose my temper fast or I jump to conclusions, whatever it is. I think that's when the work really, really starts to pay off. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, if someone does come to you as a medium and says, can you talk to my uncle? Are you able to do that if the uncle wants to come through? I know that's not just easy, but does that usually work out?
Yeah, that works out. Well, it works out for me. And I have this phrase that really shouldn't be, it should be different. I say, I pull on them. I pull on their energy to come in. I have the ability to say, Uncle Joe, and, Uncle Joe, all of a sudden I say, well, what was his name? Let me refresh that. So if we're sitting, someone wants to connect with an uncle, I will then tell them that, give me his name and how old was he? And then just with that name and the age, I'm able to tap into that energy or that connection of that person. And then I can give information to the sitter or the client from the uncle. A lot of times for me, what happens is when I sit with someone, I always tell people that if you have a lot of stuff going on, let's get through that first. Let's clear out all that psychic energy stuff that's holding us back, and then we can get into your loved ones. But I absolutely can, at rare occasion where I go, yeah, no, they're not coming in.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. With the integrative energy therapy, what is that?
So that's working with your angels. So through IET, I connect a heart link between myself, the angels, and the client or the person on the table. And then once we connect that heart link, we go into targeted areas of the body. We start out the top of the head and we work on the head with removing guilt, and we imprint. So we remove something and we imprint the, what I'm going to say is the opposite, right? So we remove guilt and we imprint innocence. We remove from the heart betrayal and heartache, and we imprint love. And what happens is when I say remove, we go in and energize it, right, with specific hand positions. We energize the energy of it, stir it up. And when it's being removed or released, it goes up through the heart center, which then goes up through that link that we've connected between the three of us, which then the angels take it away. And as we pull it out of your system, whether it's, say heartache and betrayal, we take it through the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual layers. So we can tell where that energy of heartache and betrayal is stuck. Is it stuck in the spiritual? You got a problem with God. Is it, or someone who's passed over? Is it stuck in the physical? Is it something that has happened to you? You've been betrayed through your life. Is it mentally? You're always telling yourself you're not good enough. Is it stuck there? And once we're able to pull it through all those 4 layers, the angels take it. They got it. They deal with it. We don't ever have to take it back again. Then we imprint that love back into that space or that void where we removed things. And then when we imprint that love, it brings people back to this state of being. And the angels got it. And well, I always say that there's like this shift or this HD experience that you might have like a week later. All of a sudden you're sitting there, it's like, boom, what happened? Like, who flipped that light switch? Who cleared my eyes? And for me, what I tell my clients is that's when that shift has happened,
Wow.
that it has made that, you'll know, because it'll be like somebody just flipped the switch for you. That's another fascinating modality.
Yeah, when you go through the layers, is that
Mhm.
those are those the layers of the aura, or it doesn't matter, they're just the layers that it all goes through?
The layers of the auric body.
Wow.
So when we start to pull, right, that is what we call it. So we energize it and then we pull it. So when we start to pull it, we literally take one hand off of the body, the other stays, connected to the body. And then we take it and, we can feel there's a resistance. So I think it can be referred to as like a rubber band, like you're feeling like you're pulling away and you're being pulled back in, or an air conditioner or a refrigeration feeling, like you'll have this cold energy or sensation coming off the body. And then we just keep taking it until, again, we pull it through all of those layers. So I would repeatedly go back into that same area, pull, and if it's stuck in that, you know, physical layer, I'll pull a little harder, right? And I'll stir it up and pull a little harder. And then I'll get it into the mental, right? So it's the physical, the mental, take it into the emotional, and then into the spiritual. And once I can pull it clear through all those auric fields, it's about 4 feet or more outside the body, then I sense, or you can tell that when it's to the level that the angel can take it away.
Wow. And also, that's very interesting, even that last thing you said,
Mhm.
because do angels and spirits have trouble coming, sort of meeting us down here because the frequency is so low? Not really.
Hmm. No, I'm thinking it's a great question. Um, I don't know because I don't have a trouble connecting with them. So
Well, maybe you,
they're
yeah, you
just
have.
with me, right? So I guess, do they have trouble?
I think where I get that question, someone told me that when, and actually, I haven't heard this in a long time, so maybe that person was making up, that when spirits come down here to communicate with us or whatever, it's like walking through mud for them. So we have to make our frequency higher or something like that. I don't know, maybe.
Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I don't experience them that in that way, but it does make sense, right? You have to be in a certain frequency or vibration in order to do it. Right? So if I'm, as the medium, working with somebody and my vibration's low that day, or I'm not feeling it, you're not going to get the best of me. Whereas if I'm in a space of I'm ready to receive and I'm sitting and my vibration is raised, the likelihood of them having the ability to connect much easier is much easier,
Mm.
right? It's like having a clear channel. The plumbing's clear. There's no blockages. It just kind of comes through. So I guess, same, different is what I want to say. It's the same theory. It's just, I guess maybe I don't think of it as them coming down, walking through mud. I
Right.
think that they kind of, I don't know, they come down, they hang out, they help us. I mean, my guides are always with me. So it's not like I don't ever feel separate from them. Like, I never feel separate from my guides and from my angels. They are always with me 100%.
Do you think, I was laughing at something where they were talking about how we think angels look like us. They
Mm.
probably don't.
Mm, good question.
They have all those pictures of what they were described as, which is like rings
Mhm,
with eyes on them and stuff like that. And then someone said, what if that is just like, if since that's, say, another dimension,
mhm,
and it filters through to our dimension. Instead of souls, we see eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul. So it
mhm,
comes through as looking like a lot of eyes, or an infinity wheel, because to us a ring is infinite. So we see
mhm.
I'm like, but we can't conceive what they really look like.
Now, when I have, because I bring them into meditations and groups and things like that, when I see them come in, I truly see like etheric beings. And etheric beings to me are, I see a lot of color. So I don't necessarily say their face, but I'll see like an opalescent wing. I'll see the form of an angel, coming in. I can't say specifically I've like, oh my God, there's an angel, like a statue. You know what I mean? Like an angel
Right.
looks like we have portrayed, but I get it's the vibration, the energy, and the feeling of them. Very high vibrational frequency. And in that high vibrational frequency, I feel like that's where the color and everything is created. Right. And that's how I see them when they come in for me. Now, other people might see them as full blown apparitions.
Yeah.
But I don't.
That could be scary. Isn't that in the Bible where it's scary? They say they don't want. Hey, I know even Muhammad did when the Archangel Gabriel came to Muhammad. He was in bed for 3 days because it was scary.
Yeah, well, look, I got a great story about spirit and coming in, a disembodied voice. One time I belonged to this church and I was going in to do Monday night meditation. And I'm sitting in the car and I hear, go in the upstairs. And I was like, all right, well, that's different. I normally go in downstairs, right? So I go up the steps. Now I've been doing this for how many years at this point? I go up the steps. I unlock the church door. I open up the first door. I go into the vestibule, and clear as day, the church is empty. There's not a soul in it. I hear, come in. And I was like, oh, hell no. I backed up. I locked the church doors. I ran down the steps, got back in my car, and I sat there. And everybody got there for group, and they're like, why are you in your car? I said, because I'm not going in there. They're like, why not? I said, because somebody just told me to come in. And they were like, are you kidding me? This is your job. How do you not go into that church? Couldn't do it.
But you must have had like a vibe that wasn't good. Do you know what I mean? Like if that was a higher frequency, you would have been like, hi.
Well, I think what happened was it startled me because I was going to the church for so many years and I've been running meditations for so many years. So to hear a disembodied voice, I was not expecting. I just wasn't expecting it.
I remember the time I did ayahuasca and you're supposed to set your intention first. And my intention was I want to see the Matrix. And then as we go in and we are having our ayahuasca and all this, like the spirit of ayahuasca goes, do you really think you're ready to see the Matrix? And I was like, yeah, you're right. We'll skip it today.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see that.
I know. Well, Judy, this has been wonderful. Tell everybody where they can find you, and we'll put your website in the show notes and what they can book a reading, they can book a mediumship or psychic, they can do all the different healing modalities and hopefully sign up for your Patreon, right?
Yes. So you can find me online at Seeking Serenity. You can also Google Judy Dingler. And my website is yourguidetoserenity.com. I have a Facebook and I also have a meetup, but everything is generally under Seeking Serenity, Judy Dingler.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, everybody.
You are very welcome. Thank you.
My friend. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Paranormal Karen.